You want to talk about contrast. The difference between these pro-Palestinian rallies and this March for Israel. Let's look at the record here. Nobody during this March for Israel today has blocked a subway station, has some type of sit-in in the Cannon office building in D.C. They're not getting into fistfights with police. And when you got people like Chuck Schumer coming out and celebrities like Deborah Messing coming out in support of Israel, then you know that we're doing the right thing here. When everybody can agree that this attack on Israel was wrong. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Israel is not perfect. No nation on this planet is. Every nation on this planet, including the United States, has made mistakes. And I'm sure a lot of you are going, wait a minute, you mean you're pro-Israel? You've got a Confederate battle flag. How many of you know that one of the reasons they chose the design of the Confederate battle flag, a lot of it has to do with naval history, believe it or not. In fact, if you go and you check the Russian naval jack, you'll see a similarity between the Russian naval jack and the Confederate battle flag. They're strikingly similar, minus the stars on the Russian naval jack. I mean, they may have updated it since the last time I've seen it, but from the pictures and images that I've seen, they're very similar. But one of the reasons they chose the design for the Confederate battle flag was as not to offend the Jewish population in the antebellum South. But getting back to this rally here, it's refreshing to see everybody come together and realize that what happened to Israel was wrong. It would be like saying, going back to the 1940s, let's say 1943, 1944, it'd be like people coming out and being pro-Hitler in America. People being pro-Third Reich in America. Now, I'm sure there are people that were, but how many know that there were a group of Jewish and German Americans at the time that rallied together to support the Jewish people, what was happening with the Holocaust in Germany? A lot of people don't know that story. And I believe it happened in Maryland. I was researching this because I have family that lives in Maryland. Family from Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky. So I just wanted to come here and give my commentary on this, talk about the contrast between these two marches. Hey, pro-Palestinian supporters, this is how you do a rally. You do it peacefully. You don't get into fistfights with the cops. You don't block a subway station. You don't kick in doors. So this is just amazing to see this. Good will always triumph over evil. Just remember that. I'm always reminded, and this is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. If you know anything about me, I grew up in a Christian non-denominational home. So we studied the Bible. We honored things such as Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Judeo-Christian tradition. So it's just amazing to see everybody come together and unite when you got people like, as I said, Chuck Schumer out there, Deborah Messing, all these celebrities coming together in support of Israel. This is definitely an American moment. This is what we can do as Americans. But getting back to the story, I want to tell you my favorite story in the Bible. I'm kind of pressed for time here, so I'm just trying to throw everything in the video I can think of on the fly here. But one of my favorite stories is the story of King Jehoshaphat. Remember, God told King Jehoshaphat to go to wherever the location was, and he was worried that their troops are going to lose. Well, then they arrived at this location, and guess what? The enemy had turned on itself. When they got there, their enemy was dead. All of them, because they had turned on themselves. And somebody else here on YouTube commented on that. So I've got to give a shout out to Fat and Opinionated's channel. Really good channel if you haven't checked out his channel. And he was talking about how we've noticed all these movements happening in the past couple of years. Before George Floyd. And that seems to be the pattern. There's a cause that people rally behind for a few months. Then it dies out. And then there's another cause that people rally behind for another few months. And it's left versus right. Right versus left. Well, I don't look at things in those terms. I've never looked at things in those terms. I look at things through the lens of logic and reason. And you have to if you're doing a channel like this and you're looking at current events and you would talk about culture. And I've got to mention two of the greatest artists in history. And since I'm a music guy, this will be more to deal with music. But two of the greatest composers in history, Felix Mendelssohn and Anton Rubinstein. And nobody talks about the music of Rubinstein, who was very prolific. And I remember seeing clips. I think there was a documentary here on YouTube talking about what was happening with Furtwängler, if you know who Furtwängler is. Very famous conductor who gave one of the worst performances of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, by the way. I guess because he knew Hitler was watching, he was getting a little nervous. But they showed these clips of the Third Reich going and raiding all these books and all these musical scores by Mendelssohn, by Rubinstein, by all these Jewish composers or people who have Jewish origin living in Germany. But they were German. And I kept saying that when I saw this. I said, how could you be doing this? These people, they're German. By all definition, they were born in Germany. They grew up in Germany. They studied German music. They wrote in the German style. They may have been Jewish, but they were also German. And that was the tragedy of what happened in Nazi Germany. These people were German citizens who were Jewish, who were just trying to live their lives, raise their families, become great artists like Felix Mendelssohn or Anton Rubinstein. Anton Rubinstein, they said, didn't really have a home because he was German, he was Russian, he was also Jewish. But two of the greatest composers of the 19th century. And the Third Reich was getting rid of their music, of these Jewish authors and poets and just insane, absolute insanity. But when we unite for a common cause like this and realize that attacking a country like Israel is wrong, going into a country and attacking people unprovoked is wrong, then you know you're on the right side of things. You're on the right side of history. No matter how many protests you see on TV, no matter how many people try to come out and be anti-Israel or try to kick in a door here or kick in a door there or block a subway station, you know you're on the right side of history. And don't forget this. A lot of times, no matter how the media tries to portray it, in real life, it's a lot smaller than it looks on camera. But I'm looking at the count of this crowd here. They're saying 100,000 or so people at this march for Israel. So way to go. Showing what America is made of. A moment where we can all unite. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't want to take too long here. Thank you for bearing with me. One take video. Just try to give my commentary here. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. You can also follow me at Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. Or you can find me at X, Culture Confederacy, at CultureConfed1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out, stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. And you know how we do it here. This is where the past crashes with the present. I'll catch you next time. And you all have a great Tuesday afternoon.